Hey, everybody, it's Monday night. It's Always Bookin Comedy. I'm Mark Masters. We're here with Samson Koletkar. How'd I do on that?
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
You
Samson
mastered it.
Koletkar from the Bay Area,
Right.
Oakland. Does that sound right? San
I
Francisco?
I live in Hayward, which is a suburb of Oakland, but I've been
Okay.
running shows in Oakland for so long, everybody thinks I'm from Oakland.
Okay. Is it better nationally to say you're from San Francisco, or is Oakland the same difference?
I think more people do know San Francisco because it's the
Okay.
biggest city. So around the world, it's usually from the San Francisco or the San Francisco Bay Area. But
Okay.
I have no qualms with people misrepresenting either my city or my last name. So take a shot, whatever you like.
I love it. I love it. Around the world, have you performed outside of the United States?
I've only done 3 countries so far: US, Canada, and India. And
Wow.
I
What was
actually had
India?
a plan to go to UK, but it was in the April of 2020.
Oh,
So that
bummer.
went off the radar. Sorry, you said
Yeah,
something
tell
about
me tell
India?
me about India. Was it English language?
Yeah. So I've been doing all my stand-up in English mostly. That's how I started. But I do have the ability to switch languages when I need to. And
Okay.
if I'm in an all Indian / South Asian audience, I sometimes will switch language. I can reference Bollywood and they get it.
Okay.
So in India, it was incredible, man, because the first couple of times I went, stand up hadn't taken off in India yet. So when
Okay.
I was doing these shows, everybody's like, "Oh man, we see these in on TV, and now here's somebody live in front of us. This is awesome." So for them, it was a bragging right that they watched a live stand-up comedy show.
Huh.
And then I think the last tour I did in India was in 2016. So it's been a decade.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
wild. Did what kind of venues are we talking about?
So in Mumbai, the big city, they have a club called the Canvas Laugh Club. That
Okay.
was the mainstay in the 2 tours I did in 2016.
Okay.
But when I went back there in the early years in 2009, I think was my first gig. It was at my college, at the college auditorium. And
Nice.
one of the shows we did in 2016 was at the Jewish Community Center in Mumbai.
Okay.
Uh, Not remotely as fancy as the Jewish community centers in America, but
Okay.
it was one of the best shows we had that whole tour.
That's awesome. That's amazing. So let's talk about show running a little bit.
Sure.
When did you get started show running? Why did you decide to show run?
So I started on May 1st, 2009. So we are exactly on the threshold of my 17 years of running comedy Oakland.
Okay.
And that's the thing I've been running in Oakland.
Did you say
And
17 years?
yeah, May 1, 2009 was the first show.
That's incredible, man. That's awesome. 17 years.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a little bit and then I'll go back to your original question. Because 2 years ago, I was posting about how I've been running the Desi Comedy Fest, the comedy festival, for 10 years, because that started in 2014.
Okay.
So like, oh, decade of Desi Comedy Fest and a decade and a half of Comedy Oakland. And I've never before felt old in my life. But I had that moment 2 years ago. And then the reason I actually started Comedy Oakland was for 3 years that I had been doing stand up. I started in 2006 and I did every possible bar and mic and anything. Like I've done where people are doing those walking marathon and I'm in the middle trying to entertain them because it's a fundraiser and blah, blah, blah. All kinds of gigs, right? You take up when you're starting out. And a lot of those gigs are run by comedians who know how to tell a joke but don't know how to set up the whole thing in order to make it conducive to
Ah,
telling a joke. So bars, I would show up at bars, people are out there drinking and talking, and then suddenly we show up with a microphone like, hey, shut up, listen to me now. It's like, what, where did you pop up from? So I hated that environment. I didn't like to go to places where there were no real audiences. Open mics were very brutal because it's all other comedians around you and it's not the same. So I remember one of my senior comedian friends told me that you can either sit and complain about it or go run your own show. And I was like, okay, then let me see what happens if I run a show. And 17 years now.
that's incredible. That's awesome. So tell me about some of the improvements you've made over the years and how you've made a comedy show better than an open mic or a
So,
poorly?
one of the key things that I look for is the space that I go into. Is it a common space with the bar and the restaurant and the kitchen and everything in one space? And if it is, then it's not as ideal because there's too much traffic going on, transit on the side. So we always try to find a dedicated space. So
Okay.
the one that you did with me, the recent one that you did with me was at the Mushin bar and restaurant, right? So that kind of was not the most ideal place because we had the show, but then it was the bar and the kitchen is all it's all right there, right?
Yeah.
But you've done my shows before at the Washington Inn.
Yeah. That
And
was
see,
great.
that is a dedicated space on the side because the kitchen bar is outside. You can bring the food and drinks in,
Yep.
but the show is just the show. So
Yeah.
those are the ideal spaces, right? So now I have two venues where we do the same thing. One's elbow room. The performance space is upstairs. The bar is downstairs. So if you're coming up, you're coming up for the show.
Okay.
And same thing with the other one, Queen's Lighthouse. They have the performance spaces in the middle, and then the bar restaurant is upstairs. So
Nice.
that is a big thing. Then the sound has to be good. So I have bought sound systems. I have installed sound systems. I install lights so it looks like show lights versus just random lights that come from the venue. We also build a custom backdrop. So when you go
I was
watch the
going to ask
show,
about that Comedy Oakland backdrop
yeah,
that you had. I can't remember if you had it at Mushin, but you definitely had it at that inn.
we had it at Motion as well.
Huge.
I have your pictures with it.
Okay.
It's big, right?
Yeah. Where like how
So
does that you get that at Vistaprint or how does that work?
no, not Vistaprint. Blue wave printing is what I've been using.
Okay.
And the first time we did this, we actually didn't even have like a banner that hangs on a wall or a ceiling. We had a pop-up banner. So the
Okay.
things
Yeah,
that
like
you
a
use
roll
like at
up.
a trade show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not
Oh,
even a
like the
roll up.
accordion style
Yeah,
thing?
it
Yeah,
pops
yeah.
up like big like this,
Yeah, I have
right?
one of
So
those.
it
It's like
packs into
9
a very
feet
compact.
wide. Yeah.
So we did that first.
Yeah.
And that really adds legitimacy to a show because now you have a backdrop. People know where the show is. You have like a proper view of everything. And then once we did that, we couldn't not have it. So every place I go now, I have a backdrop. I currently own like 3 backdrops because I've been in so many different venues and the dimensions are different and
Yeah.
things like that. So yeah, I think
Wait, how
those
do you
things
so
help.
the non-accordion one, the bigger one, how do you attach that?
So we also have freestanding stands, which
Oh,
like a
okay.
lot of camera people use for photographers use it for pictures.
Okay.
So we use those same stands and then we hang the banner on top of it.
Okay. It's
So it
got a
becomes
crossbar.
portable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
But then there are venues who let us put it up permanently.
Oh,
So we
cool.
do permanent as well.
Neat. That's nice. So what do you do about attendance and how does attendance
Yeah.
ebb and flow?
See, that's the biggest challenge for all of us is how do we keep getting people in? It has definitely been harder post pandemic. But again, I remember when I started, one of the first things I did was I had a website for my show, which I tell you for sure nobody in 2009 outside of the comedy clubs had, right? And I am a techie by my day job career past.
Okay.
So I actually hand coded my whole website back in the 2009 days because we didn't have all these fancy website editors back then.
Sure.
And having a website with the show listings and comedian faces and things like those helps because now you have like a destination to check the shows out.
Yep.
And I started looking at what the big clubs were doing, right? We have the Punchline and Cobb's here, San Jose Improv. What are those clubs doing? Where are their ads showing up? Where do they promote? Where do they publicize? And I couldn't get into everything that they had because their budgets are higher, but I could get into a few of those things and have my small little placement next to the big placements that they have. It's like, hey, we got a tiny little comedy show here. It's much cheaper. There are no drink minimums, no ticket fees. We absorb all the fees, right? So that's how we started. And then I kept partnering with a lot of other ticket resellers and Groupons of the world and Gold Stars of the world. And that basically was trying to increase
But
your
what's
presence on
Gold
the.
Star?
Oh, Gold Star was the one of the largest ticket resellers. They do discount ticketing to events.
Oh, it's like what was that deal
StubHub.
site? Well, is it similar to StubHub? Okay. No, I
I've
was
not
thinking
used
more of
StubHub.
what was that deal site 20 years ago?
Groupon.
Where like, yeah, is it like a Groupon?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So But Gold Star was dedicated to live events. Groupon basically got you Groupons for everything. So we had also done Groupon one time,
Okay.
right? And we ran with them too. And I think pre-pandemic at one time I had like 10 or 12 sites where I could sell tickets.
Huh.
There's Airbnb experiences and some other businesses that went out of business. So
Okay.
that helped having a presence on the web. And then the other thing that I eventually, after about 7, 8 months of running the show in the least spend possible way, I was like, you know what? We're going to pay for advertising and run some ads and take a punt. And what's the worst that will happen? I'll spend some money for 3 months, learn a lesson, and shut up. But the minute we started doing ad spend, things picked up again. And there
Sure.
was a very beautiful quote that I remember reading, which said, you know what happens when you don't advertise? Nothing. And I'm like, that is brilliant. And so that's where I started. And now it's like a small business that I run pretty much doing
That's great.
everything in order to get more people to attend.
Yeah, I got a bunch more questions, but I want to
Sure.
try and involve our audience. Rio, I just
Okay.
want to say hi. Thank you,
Hey,
everybody who's
Rio.
tuning in and in the chat. And yeah, we're both comedians. And if anybody has questions about comedy, fire away in the chat. And this is live right now. We'll answer them. Okay, so you talked about ticketing. That's
Mhm.
interesting about the discount sites. It's very clever. Let's talk about this festival a little bit. So you have a
Yes.
festival that's a decade old. What's it called
Yes.
again? Daisy?
Desi Comedy Festival, DESI, which
Okay.
is a Hindi word which means countrymen, like locals. But
Okay.
it's now become synonymous with South Asians.
Okay.
So
Is
Desi
it
means somebody from South Asia.
okay? So does it serve that niche and use
Yes.
comedians from? Okay.
Yes.
Uh,
So the goal of the festival is to showcase South Asian comics from around the world. And
mhm,
we target the South Asian audience, but because it's English language shows, we get mixed audiences. And
sure.
again, we're in America, so there's a couple. One is Indian, one is not, and the other one is forced to come and watch because
Right.
they like Indian stuff. Obviously, that's why they
Yeah.
married one, right? So
Yeah.
we get a good mix of audiences, and even the comedians have an interesting mix, right? Like there's one who just did my show at Oakland this weekend, Elizabeth Aziz. She's out of originally from Chicago, but now in LA.
Okay.
She's like Pakistani, Irish, or Italian, half and half,
Okay.
right? So we get a lot of these half and half mixes as well of South Asian backgrounds and all kinds of interesting ones. Like I myself am Indian and Jewish, and that's as far as I know, the only Indian Jewish comedian in the world.
Okay.
People are also intrigued by what there are Jews in India, right? And
Yeah.
so,
Enough to have a community center, apparently.
yeah. So we get an interesting mix of South Asians from, and there's so many of them that have taken up stand up now.
Okay.
Uh,
So have you anybody, so over 10 years, have you had anybody who's popped and become famous come through?
Funny, I was just talking to Abhay, who's my co-producer on the show. Akash Singh
Oh wow. Yeah, yeah. I've seen
just
him.
sold out the Radio City Music
Uh-huh.
Hall, and I was gave him a little thumbs up because that's like a pretty good thing on his own, right? So
It's amazing.
he has done our show like years ago, and there's a whole bunch of others who have gone on to do bigger things. Um, so it's a little hard to keep track because we've showcased over the 12 years that we've been running it now about 150 to 180 comics.
Wow. Do
And
people fly
Kabir's
in, or are these just Bay Area comedians?
no, we used to do the festival primarily in the Bay Area every year. And during our peak 2016, 17, 18, we used to do 11 nights in a row all across
Holy
the
cow.
all across the Bay. And that time we used to have comics flying in from like 3 continents. We've had comics coming in from Europe, from India, from all over US, Canada. So that was our big thing, right? We used to do like 3 to 500 seat theaters. Uh, Now what we've done in 2026 is we are expanding it beyond the Bay Area. So while we still have 6 nights in the Bay Area this August, we just did a run of the East Coast. So we did Boston, Jersey, DC, New York, 4 nights, 4 cities. We're doing Detroit, Chicago in May. We are
Cool.
doing SoCal in November, and then we are lining up Texas as well. And then hopefully we can get to Seattle, Vancouver, Portland.
And
So
and so what does that look like? Is that you and a friend or two, or are you
Abhay
bringing
and
in?
me travel, and then we pick most of the local comics from the region.
Okay.
but
Fun.
there could still be comics traveling, right? Like we have some guy from Minneapolis coming to do the show in Chicago,
Okay.
and
Huh.
we've had people from like further down south from DC who came up to do shows in Boston. So
Yeah.
local travel, kind of, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a
Uh,
mix of comics.
so to piggyback on my question about people who have popped,
Hmm.
Akash Singh is a huge one. If I
Yes,
ask the same question for your show, which has been
yes.
running longer, are there other names?
I'm gonna have to go back and
There's
think.
got to be.
You remember Kabir Singh? He unfortunately passed away a year or two ago.
Yeah.
So
Oh, was he a
he was on
Chicago guy?
no. He's out of Bay Area. He was on
Okay.
America's Got Talent and Dry Bar Comedy Special.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he went pretty big as well,
Okay.
right? So
Nice.
he was one from here. Sammy Obeid, who's
Oh yeah.
also all over the place now, doing tours internationally. He's out of
Yeah.
the Bay Area too.
He sells a lot of tickets. I opened for him
Yes,
once in Denver. Unbelievable. Sold
yes,
500 tickets in one night.
yep.
250 seater. He sold it out twice.
Yeah, he's doing
Unreal.
good.
Yeah.
Correct. And what also happened was when we were doing this in the pre-pandemic years, because we were going 11 nights in a row and about 6 to 9 comics on a show, we also learned that there's only so much Indian comedy back to back, or not Indian, but South Asian comedy back to back to back to back you can take. So we would throw in like little random spices in between. So like Sammy Obeid, who's a Middle East background, and then we had some Latino comic and East Asian comic, and one time we had this guy Dave Nihil. Do you know Dave
Oh, I know
Nihil?
Dave. Yeah, he's huge now.
Irish,
Yeah.
and he
Very
killed that night. Like the South Asian Comedy Festival, the best comedian was the Irish comic that night. He was so good because nobody's expecting somebody to show up, and
right.
he's really funny too. Won
He's
the San
very good.
Francisco
Didn't he win the
competition as well.
San Francisco comedy
Yep,
competition? Yeah,
he
that's a
did.
that's a big deal.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of these names who have come and done the shows before,
Yeah,
and everybody has their own success path that they've gone through.
sure. Have you had do you know Devontre Coleman?
Yes, he's not done the Desi Fest yet, but he has done my Oakland shows regularly.
So that's what I meant by that question was on the Oakland show, who have you had through?
Oh, the
I mean,
Oakland show. There's probably a lot more there because
that's
it's
what
an
I meant.
open field, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So Sean
So,
Felipe, who won the San Francisco Comedy Competition this 2025, the last year that happened,
okay,
he's a regular with us as well.
nice,
Uh,
cool. Yeah, but, just shouting out Bay Area comics that I like. Have
Do you
you had
know
Carla Clay?
Zoltan Kazas and Taylor Tomlinson
Taylor
and
Tomlinson is
those
huge,
big
but
names, right? So when they were starting out, they have
yeah.
all passed through our clubs.
That's my favorite
Hassan
thing
Minhaj.
in this format is talking to people who ran shows more than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And you would be surprised, at least half of them have had Nate Bargatze on
Yeah.
their show,
Yeah.
which is
Because we all
crazy.
start somewhere, right? We
Yeah.
all start in these small spaces and then you go on to become the big thing. And it's fascinating to watch that curve go up.
Yeah. Do you ever have Usama Siddiqui? Do you know who he
Yeah.
is? He's
He
been
did the
down.
festival, the Desi Fest twice.
Oh, I'd say
Actually, he's done it
he's
3
not as big
times.
as Akash Singh, but right now he's in the zeitgeist because he's in
Yeah.
on that Netflix competition.
And he also, one of the funniest comics on the lineup when he showed up. He was
He's
so
so
good.
funny. He's so good. He did Vail Comedy Festival and he
Yeah.
just rips.
Yeah.
Man. He is great.
You give me the names and I might be like, oh yeah, that name too.
Sure. Well, let's talk about your comedy a little bit. So it sounds like this festival thing has helped you get out and travel and get in front of different audiences. And so what's it like to, I don't know, you're a couple decades in now.
Yep.
What are your goals and what are you trying to do? I think last time we talked, you were maybe about to tape a special. Like what's coming up? Talk to me about you.
Yeah. So I do operate on 3 tracks, right? One is Comedy Oakland, which for me is my workout space.
Okay.
And then Desi Comedy Fest, which is like the big festival shows that we do. And then my own solo shows and other shows that I do, right? So that has also taken me places around the 3 countries. And I was planning for my recording when we met at the Cheaper Than Therapy and also at Comedy Oakland. I recorded that on the Thanksgiving weekend in November.
Okay.
And finally released it this week.
Oh, no way. Let's promote
Yes.
it. Let's go. What's
So
it called? Where can people find it?
it's on YouTube. The whole hour is on YouTube. It's called Bombay to the Bay. Because I
Nice.
came from Bombay and I live in the Bay Area. So that was my first official recorded
Kind of a Bay to Breakers homage.
kind of sorta, right?
Yeah.
So that's on YouTube now, and I'm now working on cutting short clips and posting them through shorts and reels, etc. So
Yep.
hopefully they show up in more people's feeds.
Awesome.
But that just came out. And again, my best way to find me, I always pitch, is Google Indian Jewish comedian. You'll find my website, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, everything.
Nice. So tell me about the special. Like,
Yes.
you got to rent a venue. You got to get camera people. Like,
Yep.
walk me through that
Yeah,
stuff. What
yeah.
went
So,
well? What would you change if you did it again?
oh, well, that's one of my problems. So I had actually done a recording in 2019, which I never released because I have this perfectionist syndrome. So if you know how it is, right? Like you're doing, I also tend to do long form routines, and you've heard me do that, right? The whole
Sure.
Proverbs thing that I was talking about. I have like 14 Proverbs that I'm going through. So it takes a long time to get through it. And every routine gets the best response at some show. You're like, oh man, that was the best response for this routine. But you
Sure.
never get the best responses for every routine in the same show. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh no, like I could record this again, and maybe this joke will get a better response than the next recording. So that's the challenge. And if I could do it, I don't think I don't want to think about how I could do it better, because I think I've done what I've done and it's come out. But for the next one, there are a few additional things I've learned about what camera angles I want to put in, what sounds I want to put in. The theater I did was really nice. I would happily do it again. Um, the attendance, I got 160 seats out of 200 filled, so it was a pretty decent
160
turnout.
people. That's a lot of people. That's great.
Yeah, and it was a 200 seater, so it felt pretty solid packed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was good. And the hardest part was having that like enthusiasm to go out there and perform the hour all over again for the recording, because before the recording I had booked 16 shows where I was doing the hour in different geographies and venues. So I ran the hour 16 times before I recorded it on the 17th.
Okay.
And some of those 16 shows cost me because
I know how
the
it goes.
attendance wasn't 160. So it was like, oh man.
And talk to me about the cameras and like editing and stuff. Did you like hire a team, or
Yeah.
you just
So
set up a bunch of tripods, or?
no, because I hired there's a fellow comedian out of Sacramento area, Stockton area actually, Nick, and he also, Nick Larson is his full name. He does photography and videography. So he had recorded it for me. We had 2 cameras set up with audience mics, and the theater was rented for the night. I had to get the curtains correct and the lights correct. That I worked with them. And then once the recording was done, the editing is being done by some guy out in Serbia that I found on Upwork. And
Where do you find it?
Upwork.
Upwork. Okay.
Yeah. Right. It's like Fiverr, but a different site.
Sure.
And the delay was mostly caused by me, because I am so focused on Comedy Oakland, Desi Comedy Fest, Comedy Oakland, Desi Comedy Fest, that my own career has been on the backtrack for so long.
Mm.
And then that reflected on the same thing with my recording too. Like recorded on November 29th, released on April 24th. Like what the hell was I doing for 5 months?
Right.
But it was a few iterations that you had to go through, because you got to get the cuts right, the timing right. And I haven't cut anything out, so I'm not making a best of either. It's like if I have dud moments, the dud moments are in there as well. It's a continuous 1 hour without any slick editing. It's just 2 cameras switching back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole hour as is. And the one thing, and I've written this in the description as well, is if you're trying to skip ahead and watch a joke and you don't get why people are laughing, it's because it's a callback to a joke before. And
Yeah.
I do a lot of callbacks, and some of those arches are like really long. I'll do it. The third joke is the callback to my closing joke, and it comes 45 minutes later.
Sure.
So that's the reward of watching the hour, is you'll get the connections if you watch it serially.
Yeah. So were you happy with how many microphones did you have
for the audience mics?
Yeah. Or
we had,
well, I guess you'd had yours plus audience
plus the main camera and the side camera. So there were three
Okay.
soundtracks that were captured.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
Cool. Would you do so? What's one thing you would do differently a few years from now when you do another hour? Do you think that 16 was the right number of run-throughs ahead of time?
I think it was pretty good, because I've been building this over the time, and I've run long sets at my own Comedy Oakland show. But to do the whole hour together, because I'm doing like 25, 30, 35, I'm pushing, but doing the whole hour together changes the dynamics quite a bit. And it took me 4 months to run the 16 shows. So I was doing one, the average was one every weekend in a different geography. And in those 4 months, I had some new material that popped up as well, which also made its way into the special, which originally wasn't on my set list.
Huh.
So if there's one thing I would think of doing next time is probably clubbing all those practice shows tighter together instead of spreading it over 4 months.
Yeah.
And then doing the recording sooner rather than 16 shows. I think 16 probably also wore me out a little bit. And financially, it wasn't very
impact too.
Yeah, that was the biggest disappointment to me. The amount of money that I spent towards it. I look at it as an investment. Whether it pays off, we'll find out.
Yeah, that's neat. Where's a place you'd like to travel to perform that you haven't been to yet?
That's actually one of my jokes, that I want to do a joke. I want to go to every single country and do a joke that's offensive to that country. Because when I do jokes that are offensive to America, they tell me to go back to where I come from. When I did offensive jokes in India, they tell me to go to Pakistan. So I'm like, I want to go to Pakistan and do a show and see where they send me, and then so on and so forth. And I want to do a whole offensive joke world comedy tour, go to every possible corner and offend everybody.
Awesome. All right, we got a question from the internet from North Carolina. Do you have any thoughts on the guy who complained about the voice of Apu on The Simpsons?
Oh, he's talking about Hari Kondabolu? Probably.
Yeah.
Hari Kondabolu just did my Desi Comedy Fest show in New York. So there you go, another big name, right?
There you go. Yeah, that's pretty big. That's good.
What do I think of it? I was born and raised in India, and then I came to America when I was 24. So I have a very different perspective on things than somebody who's born and raised over here.
Okay.
And I understand how it's annoying that somebody caricatures your entire 1.5 billion people into one accent. But also, and this is a routine that I'm actually working on now for my next hour, I also find it very, I don't know what it is, but I could not differentiate growing up in India. I could not differentiate between American accent, British accent, and Australian accent. They all sounded the same to me.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised if like something that's unfamiliar to you tends to get pushed into a smaller pattern unless you get in and understand the refinements of it, right? Now I understand the New York accent and the California accent and all those things, but that's because I've lived here for 2 decades. So I'm not as easily or strongly offended by things that tend to seem to be offensive to what most people tend to talk about. Yeah. I have other things I get offended by. Like, for example, I'll give you, this is one of my new thing, right? Where I don't understand why ethnic names getting mispronounced is offensive to those people. Like if you ask me how do I pronounce my last name?
Yeah.
And most white folks especially are worried that they'll mispronounce my last name. So they always ask me like, hey, how do I pronounce your last name? Like, it's okay if you mispronounce it. I shouldn't be getting offended. I should be getting famous. Because once I'm famous, everybody will know how to pronounce my name. And if you don't know how to pronounce my name, that's because I'm a nobody. What
That's
am
a
I
good
getting
joke,
offended?
man. That's good.
I'm getting offended about me being a nobody, right? It's not your fault.
That's got legs. I like it.
Thank
I
you.
like it. That's funny. All right, we guys start wrapping
all
this
my
up.
white audiences like that joke.
That's great. All right, we gotta start winding this down.
Sure.
You got so many things to find. We got the special, we got Comedy Oakland, we got the festival. Pitch them all for me.
Sure. I'll run through it again. The latest thing I've done is just release my hour on YouTube called Bombay to the Bay. I am running the South Asian Comedy Festival called Desi Comedy Fest, desicomedyfest.com.
Can you spell that for everybody?
DESI comedyfest.com.
Yeah.
Our next 2 shows are Detroit, Chicago. Then we are back in the Bay Area for a 6-night run. Then we have shows in SoCal, and we are trying to find venues in Texas. Maybe I'll come do a round of Colorado, Mark. We spoke about this briefly last year.
Yeah,
we should talk about that too.
Right after we close out the taping. Yeah.
Sure. And then comedyoakland.com is my weekly show here in Oakland, which has been running for 17 years. We currently
Are you still hand coding that website?
No more. Because at some point my site was not responsive. So mobile phones started becoming the commonplace, and my site wouldn't render correctly. So I had to switch to the more modern websites.
Nice.
ComedyOakland.com, we run shows every Thursday, Friday, 2 shows Saturday and a Sunday.
Okay.
And it's a rotating lineup of comedians, 5 to 7 comics on every show.
Nice.
Not open micers. We do curate the lineups a little bit. So we put on good comics like yourself when you come in. But somebody who's new and raw, we won't hesitate to tell them like, hey, get back in touch with us after a few months, do some mics and
Yeah.
send us another video. And then maybe we can get you up.
Yeah.
At the same time, we also punt on new comics and put them up for a guest spot once in a while. So depends on what they send us as a review video.
All right. We got a comment from North Carolina that Raleigh.
Oh, Raleigh.
Carolina.
Yeah. You know, I'll tell you something about that. Somebody had asked me this because our goal is to take Desi Comedy Fest to every big city in the world as well, right? And I was talking about like Johannesburg and Melbourne and London, all the big cities. And somebody asked me like, where do you find a lot of Indian people? Like planet Earth. You go to any city, there's Indian people there. So yes, Raleigh, I hear. I've also been told in what's the city in Alabama that has a lot of Indians? Birmingham.
Okay, nice.
We're getting requests from Alabama. Who would have thunk? But Birmingham, Alabama is full of my people as well. We are everywhere.
Next stop, West Virginia for you guys.
Maybe we'll make it to Raleigh someday soon.
Yeah. All right, we got to wrap this up. Everybody, tune in next Monday. We got a huge back catalog. Check out Samson Koletkar. Study his name. He's going to be famous someday. We'll see you next time.